Ooh, yeah. Oh, look at that chin. People say I'm a chinspiration. Oh, what's that? I've lost my slipper. I'm Cinderella. Take me to the ball. Someone find me shoe. Yes boys, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm doing some more invasions on the Golden Crusader build. This thing's an absolute beast. I've got all those awesome weapons there to use. I'm also now using the Azur's staff as well as my seal, so I'm getting some really good cast speed. I've got all these cool incantations to use, the triple rings of light, I've got the big golden arc, I've got a good selection as well as the new one, Spearer, and I've also got the golden vow for a nice little bit of a damage buff, because we all like damage, don't we? You can see there I'm using the Radagon's icon, also to add to the speed of my casting. That's my flask. You can see my character stats on the right there, level 200. Really good stuff. It's an awesome build and I've got some absolutely amazing invasions to show you in this video. So sit back, relax and enjoy the chin. Okie dokie guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an absolutely awesome day. The invasions on this build have been going so well. This build is an absolute beast. Honestly, I've made some more changes to it since the last time I used it, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit now. If you might remember the last time I used this build, it was looking a lot different than it is doing now. The reason for that is because I added a couple of weapons to this build, the main one being the big giant colossal hammer. It's called the Devonius hammer and I've been having a great time using it. It's an awesome weapon. But something I always tried to do on this build was that I always wanted to have the Erdtree's Great Shield equipped in one of my left hand weapon slots. I thought it was a really good tactic to use on the build in case I ever came across any wizards. I could just get it out quick as you like without worrying about doing any hard swaps to deal with some wizards. But what that meant is that I had to really cut back on my armour options, because I wanted to be able to use the Devonius hammer whenever I wanted, and I also wanted to have that Erdtree's Great Shield always equipped, so I had to really cut back on the armour. But I had a little think and I decided that I wanted to make a few changes to this build. I wanted to make it as strong as possible, so that meant that I decided to take the Erdtree Great Shield off, and I actually invested again into the armour that I was wearing. I've still got the Erdtree's Great Shield on the build you'll actually see in this invasion. I've started to actually hard swap to that shield when I come across wizards, so I'm still using it. I've just changed the approach in which I'm using it. You'll see now I back up, I've got some spam coming in at me, so I back up, I do a hard swap to the Erdtree's Great Shield, and I still get some use out of it. So I still am getting use out of this Great Shield, even though it's not on a soft swap. But what it's allowed me to do is wear some really tanky armour again and become a lot stronger in my poise and my defences, and overall it's just massively improved the build. As well, from a fashion standpoint, I think it looks great. It's gone back to really suiting the name of the Golden Crusader. He's a big tanky boy. I'll give him a little bit of a makeover with that glorious chin. I mean, what a jawline. You saw it in the intro. I'm looking absolutely awesome on this build with a chin to die for. A true chinspiration. I inspire people with the absolute quality of my chin, and you've just got to love it guys. I'm the Golden Crusader and I've got an awesome chin, so bring it on. So that's the first thing that's changed, and it's been going really good, being able to stand and swing into people's faces a little bit longer without taking as much damage. So there's also another major part of this build that I've tweaked since using it last time, which I feel has improved it quite a bit, and that is that last time I was using this build I was actually using 2 seals to try and buff the damage on the Golden Rings incantations as much as possible. I was using the seal that I've gone there now, but I was also using the dry leaf seal that's from the DLC. Now that says that it buffs the damage of the Rings of Light incantations, and the seal that I'm using now also does the same, so I was trying to use them together to get max damage out of those particular spells. But someone informed me that the dry leaf seal is actually bugged. Now I knew a few things from the DLC were bugged, you know, they weren't buffing the certain spells that they was used to. There's a couple of the new spells, I think the death sorceries aren't getting buffs from the death staff. I think there's a couple of other little things as well, but I was informed, someone told me, that it's the same with the dry leaf seal. Now I weren't sure if that was 100% true, but I took his word for it because I could see it being true based on, you know, other things in the DLC working in the same way. So I decided to take any doubt out of it and just remove that seal from the build. And I took a leaf out of one of my favourite video content creators' playbooks, Rabbits in the Moon. He's a very prolific build maker. I recommend you go and check him out if you've never heard of him. He does some awesome stuff. But something he often does when using a seal is to use the Azor staff in his other hand and get some benefits out of that speed casting capabilities that that staff offers. So it usually increases the speed that you can cast spells, but if you use it in conjunction with a seal, it has the same effect. So it's increasing my cast speed on my incantations. Something else that I've also changed in the same regard is that I've took off the Canvas Phlox Talisman, because someone also told me that the Canvas Phlox Talisman isn't buffing the holy damage of the spells. Now again, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I took his word for it, and just to remove any doubt, I removed the Canvas Phlox Talisman for the build, and I played into the cast speed a lot more as well. I decided to double down on the cast speed, so I took the Canvas Phlox off and I added Radagon's Icon. Now with the addition of these two factors to this build, increasing the cast speed so much, I've definitely noticed. Just take a look at this for example now. I swapped to this weapon for some big damage on this summon running in, and I get him quite low. But I'm also low, so I just back off. I know the wizard is bringing some spells my way, so I just back off, get myself a little bit of space, and then I notice this summon rushing me down. He's low health now, so I top up my FP, and then I just managed to kill him with a giant golden arc. Now would I have got that spell off in time before he killed me had I not increased the cast speed on these incantations so much? I don't think I would. I thought that would have come out too slow and he would have just killed me, but with the addition of this staff and with the addition of the Radagon's Icon, my cast speed is so much more. I'm going to put that particular kill down to the increased cast speed, and it's just an example of how much more effective these spells are when they're coming out that much quicker. So guys, the last thing I want to talk about with this build is just some of the gear and the incantations that I'm using. I said last time that I wanted to add some of the new incantations from the DLC to this build, and that's exactly what I've done. I've gone ahead and got all of the incantations that I wanted to use as a whole rotation, and I finally added them all to the build, and I think it's all working out really well. I've still got the ones I was using before. I've got the Radagon's Rings of Light, I've got the triple Rings of Light, and they're obviously my go-to spells, but since then I've added the multiple Wave of Gold effect one, I've added the Golden Arcs, this one now that I'm just using. I've also added the Giant Golden Arc. Two really good spells, the Giant Golden Arc especially. You may have noticed in the Invasions that I try to use the triple Rings of Light, and then I like firing the Giant Golden Arc afterwards because it's really hard for them to dodge everything that's being thrown at them, and it does some good damage. And the Giant Golden Arc especially has amazing tracking and some pretty decent range. It's just an overall really good spell to add on to this kit and this build. It works really well. Earlier on I did actually have the multiple Rings of Light on this build as well. That's another one from the DLC, but I'm not too keen on that one. I don't think it fits as well as some of the other incantations on this build, so I decided to take it off. I also think it works quite similarly to the triple Rings of Light, so I thought it was kind of a little bit pointless having the triple Rings of Light as well as the multiple layered Rings of Light on this build. I decided to take that off, but I also decided to take that off because I wanted to use the Spira or the Spira, however you pronounce it. That's one of the new incantations from the DLC that you get in the very last area. And that actually takes up 2 spell slots, which isn't much of a problem. You know, I'm not using a load of incantations on this build, but I never want to overdo it with how many incantations I'm using, so I was more than happy to take the multiple Rings of Light off and add Spira, which costs 2 spell slots. And I actually really like Spira as an incantation. It could do with another couple of little buffs. I think it's not the most hard hitting. Some of the tracking on it can be a little bit funky, but it's really different, it's really unique, and I really like making some use out of it on the build. The weapon selection on the build is still the same as before. I've not added any new weapons. I tell a lie, actually, the one weapon I have added is the new cannon from the DLC, but besides that I've not added anything new. The weapons are all still really hard hitting. I've got a good selection. I try to do some hard swaps on this build with the weapons, although I'm not very good at hard swapping, but I try to do it because it's just a fun play style, and some of the Ashes of War on these weapons hit really hard, so it's good to try and catch people off guard and hit them for some big damage. But yeah, overall guys, just a really fun, a really strong build, an awesome chin, and yeah, you can't go wrong. This is the last invasion guys, so I'll let this one play out. Thanks for being here, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed, but besides that, look after yourselves and I'll see you all in the next video.